Do you want to know how to discipline a child who doesn't care about consequences? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and good communication and how to build strong family bonds all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we are talking about helping children who don't want to be helped. It is true, sometimes it seems like our children don't want help. Like they do, but they don't. And as we're trying to help them and trying to correct them, discipline them, help them learn, they are pushing back hard. I know that can be difficult. In this video, we're going to be talking about why is it that some children don't care. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my background working with troubled children, and then also share with you some key things that you can do to help them to learn to care about accepting consequences. Years ago, I was doing a parenting training in my hometown, and there was a woman at the training who said to me, "Nicholeen, I love what you teach, but I know it's not going to work for my son. My son doesn't care about anything. I have tried everything. I have taken away his birthday. I have taken away Christmas, and still he doesn't care about consequences." Wow, when I heard that, I heard the tone of voice of the mother. And I was like, she's fighting. She's battling her child. So long as she keeps battling her child, if he is strong-willed, he's going to keep battling back. They are in a power struggle that's never going to end. And she's just trying to find ways to hurt him. Power points, to push on, to give him pain. That's what she wants. And she's taking away every opportunity that she has to show him how much she loves him and cares about him to do it. This is getting selfish. Really, really selfish. Now, obviously, I didn't tell her that. But I did say, well, do you think that if you take away every opportunity, every occasion where you would normally show him how much he matters to you, that will actually help him care more about you? Or do you think it could maybe make him so he feels like you really don't care about him? He'll care less. She was like, no, it's not going to work. She was not really ready. She liked the sound of self-government. She liked the sound of the skills and things that I teach. And if you're subscribed to this channel, you know what I teach on this channel. There's so many skills and principles that help parents and children be calm and communicate and solve their problems. She liked the sound of all of that, but she didn't actually want to do it. And so what happened was it led her child to a continuous power struggle, nonstop. So why? Why do some children not care about accepting consequences? Because they feel like an object in their parent's life, because they feel like everything is about the emotions of the parent, because they feel like the parent's only concern is controlling them, because they feel not understood, because they feel like nobody cares. There can be many, many reasons. Obviously, there's social reasons too. They could have learned from somebody that parents don't care. They could have been misinformed. They could have learned, oh, well, you can just tell your parents you don't want to, and you can just push against it and you don't care and you're not going to do it. And if their parents don't have good enough skills, that could work for a time. Of course, nobody tells them what it does to their relationships and what it does to the trust. Because if a child doesn't follow a parent's instructions and accept their no answers and allow themselves to be parented, then the parent has no trust in the child. That's just how it works. Unless the roles are in the right place, the parent and child miss out on that trust in the relationship. I'm most known for my parenting books like Parenting a House United and the children's books that I have for children to teach the 4 basic skills. But I also have this book that is really powerful and can help getting roles straight in the family. So this book is called Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success. And it's a story of a family who's having problems with roles. And the family learns who they are to each other, and they look at their relationships and their roles in a new light, and things change for them. It's a really great book to read aloud as a family and to discuss it so that the family can understand more about who they are and get on that road to using the skills of self-government that they really want to. So no matter the circumstance, whether the child is not wanting to listen to you or be corrected because of social, or because maybe they're just used to power struggling with you and it's now a habit, or whatever the issue is, the solution actually is the same. The solution is you self-govern you as a parent. You learn specific skills. You plan what you are going to say. And then you teach it to your child. Teach your child all the same skills that you know of communication. And then you have a method that holds both of you accountable for using those skills. It's possible. It's called teaching self-government. And I've been teaching it now for well over 20 years. I think it's been about 25 years now that I've been teaching to people. And so many families, so many relationships have changed. If you want your children to take ownership of their own behaviors, they have to be able to face the consequences. But now you're saying, but what if they don't care about the consequences? Well, probably you don't have the consequences set up right. Sometimes a parent will say, well, you don't get your phone, and then the child takes your phone and says, yeah, make me, right? If you're trying to take things away from a person, that's a really hard consequence to fully follow through with. Sometimes parents use things like timeout or something like that, and a child won't stay in a timeout. They'll run off, and then they're like, now what do I do? There are things that you can do, but what you probably need are some new skill sets yourself. So there is something that I teach in the Teaching Self-Government Parenting course. It's called the TSG Parenting course. It's on teachingselfgovernment.com, and it is called the Rule of Three. The Rule of Three is a type of intensive teaching, usually used for children ages probably 5 or 6 and older, although it can be used for children ages like maybe, 3, 4, and 5 if they're cognitively at that level, and I would probably have to help you determine that, or you would have to look at some of the guidelines for that. But before that, you use a calm down spot and then a simple correction. But after that, once they hit about age 6 years old, you're going to be using the Rule of Three. And there's a couple of different ways to use it depending upon ages. But basically, there are 3 consequences that they can earn, and they don't actually get the opportunity of accepting those consequences until they are fully calm and can do all of the steps to following an instruction. So what does that mean? So there are 4 basic skills that I teach. You've probably heard me talk about following instructions here on this channel. I know I talk about it in multiple different videos. There are 5 steps to following an instruction. You look at the person or the situation, you keep a calm face, voice, and body, you say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, which is another self-government skill, and then you do the task immediately and then check back. Now, we also have steps for accepting consequences. You're going to teach those to your children too. You're also going to teach them how to accept no answers and criticism, and how to disagree appropriately. So if your child doesn't feel like they should need to accept a consequence, don't worry, there's a skill for that. It's called disagreeing appropriately. This opens the door to good, open communication, but you need to be prepared with the parent side of that skill, what to do on your side of it to help them feel understood, sometimes even when the answer has to be no. Then, if they know these skills and they still don't use them and choose to go completely out of control, you are prepared with a correction followed by the Rule of Three. In the Rule of Three, they can earn 3 different negative consequences, but they know they earn them. Let's say they get all the way to the end of the Rule of Three interaction and they still have not chosen to be calm, because that's what the Rule of Three is all about, choosing to be calm. Once a person is calm, that's our baseline, and we can go back to discussing the situation, correcting, and accepting consequences. But if a person won't accept consequences or won't be calm, then we engage in the Rule of Three. Sometimes they go all the way through the Rule of Three and still say, I don't care. I'm not doing it. Well, then they actually have no privileges for however long until they choose to accept those 3 negative consequences. One of them is a loss of privileges for 24 hours. When a person loses their privileges, that means they don't have friend time, they don't have phones, they don't have computers, TV, they don't have snacks, they can't just wander around the house, do whatever they want, and play their instruments and their games. They don't get anything. They're basically on lockdown until they have chosen to actually do the 5 steps to following an instruction, because that's the baseline for I am in instructional control. Some children, maybe they have oppositional defiant disorder, those types of things. It can go on for quite a while. I remember I had one foster daughter one time who stayed completely out of instructional control for multiple days. It was like 4 days that she was out of control. And I had to tell the school she's out of control, she can't come, because we need to get her to a place of calmness. She's not self-regulating right now. And they were like, okay, you keep her, that's fine. They don't want someone at school who's not self-regulating. It took a bit, but then after that 4 days, it went to 2 days the next time. Then it went to 1 day the next time, then back to 2 days. And then it went to like a few hours. And then finally, she got herself to the point where she could stop herself from going out of control instantly, and she could just get to a place of talking about it. I think oftentimes the children fight so hard and they don't want to accept the consequences because they feel like it's unjust. They don't feel like they have really earned that, but that you're just doing something to them. So you need to make sure that your system is just and that you are following through with what you told them you would follow through with. And I can help you set all of that up. So the best thing that you can do if you are parenting a child that does not accept your authority, does not want to learn any skills or accept any consequences, is you've got to revamp the whole structure in your home. The culture needs to shift. Something is not working there. I have a support group where I can answer questions, and you can find all of that at teachingselfgovernment.com. But I got to tell you, you will want the TSG parenting course. And when you get that, it comes with a support group. Okay? You can just start asking questions, but you won't have all of the learning that will help you really use those answers well. Get the TSG parenting course, get learning, and then start asking me questions every week on my weekly support group. And you will be amazed at what happens. Now, I can't promise you that your child will change instantly. Who knows? You might be dealing with ADHD or oppositional defiant disorder, something like that. But guess what? I've dealt with those children too. I did therapeutic treatment care for a lot of years. It is possible. You just have to tell yourself, it is possible. I can do this. You need to have confidence in something. And if you don't have the skills you need, you're probably not feeling confident. They know that. The fight will keep going as long as you don't feel confident in your skills. So let's get you there. Go to teachingselfgovernment.com today, and I'll help you out with that.